What's up, guys? It's Benny. Breaking news. Joe Biden has been diagnosed with a very aggressive, very dangerous, very bad form of cancer. Experts tell us this is the kind of cancer you do not come back from. We're going to get into all of that, but I want to set the table here first about how this channel will always cover a situation like this. I can't think of somebody that I disagree with more politically than Joe Biden. I can't think of a worse president in my lifetime. That's a matter of fact. It's also a matter of fact that we will never wish ill on any fellow American. We don't wish harm on them. And so we're going to try and keep it classy here. And we're going to do our best to simply give you the facts, right? This is what separates us from the animals. We do not wish harm on our fellow Americans, okay? So here we go. These are the facts. Last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a finding of his prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. That's a very bad kind of cancer, characterized by a Gleason score of 9. This is, by the way, as we will get to, the worst score you can have. With metastasis to the bone. Now, that's where it gets really scary. I'm going to stop for just a moment and say metastasis to the bone. Let's talk about this for a second. What goes on in your bones? This is where your white blood cells, red blood cells are created. This is where your body is able to regenerate. And this is where you are able to create the kind of immunity and strength to keep going in life. When you have bone cancer, you just don't come back from that. That's what medical experts have told us. I've already given sort of the teaser here that we're not trying to be a doomer. We're not trying to do anything other than tell you what we have learned from direct experts. Bone cancer is the worst. It's what was told to us by a doctor, a death sentence, before we did this read. Metastasis to the bone. So that's bad. Not only is prostate cancer obviously an absolute killer and the number 3 killer of men, in America, but also the Gleason score of 9 means it's a horrible and very aggressive cancer, and the metastasis to the bone means that if it's in your bones, your body's going to have a virtually impossible time fighting this. While it represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The doctor that I spoke with told me that this was just cope. Again, I've already given the disclaimer, okay? We're not here to celebrate it, but it is, but you need to be prepared for what's happening here. You're an adult. You can accept the reality. We've been seeing the reality for a very long time that Joe Biden is not well. The president and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Reviewing treatment options with his physicians, that sounds like what you say when you're about to put somebody in hospice. Don't say we didn't warn you. This we published 5 days ago. 5 days ago, right here. Why? Because we read the wires, and there was a wire service report that doctors had found a nodule in Joe Biden's intestines. And so here's from 5 days ago, our channel saying this is really bad for Joe Biden. Joe Biden diagnosed with aggressive form of prostate cancer that metastasized to the bone. 82, Joe Biden has an aggressive form of cancer. The cancer has metastasized, spread to the bone. That's the most important part there. It doesn't matter what kind of cancer you have, breast cancer, skin cancer. If it gets to your bones where your blood cells are created, you're in a very, very bad, very, very bad place. The announcement came just weeks after reports revealed a small nodule was found on Biden's prostate. That's what we covered, and we said they're probably covering for something here. Routine exam needed further evaluation. The statement on the diagnosis states, last week, President Joe Biden seemed seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule for his urinary symptoms, increased urinary symptoms. Oh my. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So this is, again, really, really bad. He left office as the oldest serving president. He's also had a long history of medical problems, right? It's not like he was in full health. We obviously could see it with our eyes. Biden resting after surgery from second brain aneurysm. He had multiple brain aneurysm surgeries. He had to go under full anesthesia. And Kamala Harris actually became the first female with presidential powers for 85 minutes. Joe Biden fit for duty after Harris temporarily granted powers during medical procedure. Joe Biden had cancer skin lesions removed while he was in the White House. So he did have cancer in the White House, right? So it's like this is something that obviously you can see from far away. But and many people are saying that, right? Here's Laura Loomer saying, as I reported several months ago, Biden's been terminally ill for a long time. It's just been kept a secret. Terminal means 6 months to a year to live. Of course, there's always outliers. But in July 2024, I reported on terminal illness diagnosis. He won't be alive much longer, in my opinion. He and his family are announcing this now to make people feel bad before a book coming out about his mental decline and how they covered it up. Everything I reported last year will and still remains true. He will probably be sent to hospice soon. Well, I mean, listen, man, when you say that you are reviewing treatment options with physicians, and what is she talking about? So what she's talking about here is something that we've seized on, how Joe Biden couldn't get in to the beast. He couldn't get into the presidential vehicle. Joe Biden didn't have the strength to lift himself into the vehicle. You can see it plainly here. Joe Biden doesn't have COVID. Joe Biden is terminally ill, said Laura Loomer. We said the exact same thing. And many people who were smart enough and wise enough to report on it at the time, you said, wait a second, they used a cover. They lied to us. They lied to us again. They said that Joe Biden has COVID. Well, it wasn't COVID. We could all see it. There was a horrible medical emergency that occurred before a Las Vegas speech that Joe Biden was supposed to give. And he had to be medevaced out. Air Force One apparently was shaking. It was flying so fast back to the East Coast. Tucker Carlson, where's Biden? Clearly something's going on here. Why haven't we seen him? There was a medical emergency. Some saying that, that Joe Biden may have been, terminally ill at the time. And we were one of them because we could just see it. Before Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race, this was the last time you saw Joe Biden. You remember, he dropped out. He wasn't on TV. He wasn't on camera. You couldn't see him. Joe Biden looked horrible. This was about a year ago. This is coming on a year ago. So it really does, like, the real reckoning here is going to be, what about these demons who let Joe Biden carry on like this? Remember, he was still running for president in this state. Watch, he can't even watch his face. He tries to make a facial expression. He can't even use half of his face. Like, his face is paralyzed, and then he can't get into the car. Famously, he doesn't have the strength to lift himself into the vehicle, as you can see very plainly here, which for anybody who was being honest with you at the time, well, they told you what was about to happen. Who is the most responsible for all of this? Jill Biden is pure evil. She trotted out Joe knowing he had dementia and was cancer riddled. Imagine doing that to your spouse. Pure evil. Jill Biden saying Joe answered all the questions. Imagine humiliating your husband like that. You clearly don't love him, right? You can't do that. This isn't how you treat someone you love. Jill Biden was on The View with Joe Biden less than a week ago. They were on The View. You're telling me that they just found out about this on Friday? I don't buy it. I don't. I've had members of my family with cancer. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I don't buy it. Joe Biden was clearly infirmed. He was infirmed when he was at the Vatican. Here, I can show you. Here's a good example. This was Pope Francis's funeral. Joe Biden couldn't make it down the stairs. Joe Biden was slipping and was barely able to make it to the stairs. He had to grasp on for dear life. You're telling me that you thought Joe Biden was in full health in this moment? No, man. No. It's absolutely sick. It's completely demonic what they've done. What they did to Joe Biden. I'm Joe Biden's best friend in the world, meaning I'm the person who has always been advocating that he should be removed from public life, that he's sick, that a good and loving family would have taken him out of public life at this point. Diagnosed with cancer. This is, of course, all across social media. This is what's really important here, the Gleason score. So this is what he has right here. It goes from here, 6 down to 9 to 10. Highly aggressive, rapidly growing, high risk. It's the worst. It's the worst type of cancer you could possibly get. I want to make it very clear that, Donald Trump Jr., how we deal with things like this is Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Politics aside, we wish him a speedy recovery. Everyone sharing this, on the right, MTG, saying they pray for Joe Biden and his family. Cancer is awful. I'm sorry to see this news. This is what separates us from the animals, frankly. And here's further evidence supporting the reporting that we did for this story. Study found a 5-year survival rate of Joe Biden's cancer is 32%. That's abysmal. And this doesn't include the metastasis to the bone. So it's really bad. This is CNN's reporting on it. Once again, we wish nobody any harm. And the people who allowed this to happen to Joe Biden and used him up through this diagnosis, or even in spite of knowing about this diagnosis, there should be a reckoning on them and held accountable. Here's CNN's reporting on it.
This is CNN Breaking News.
This breaking news, former President Joe Biden has just announced that he has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Let's get straight to the White House and senior reporter Betsy Klein with more on this. Betsy.
Yeah, Frederica, the White House, the office of former President Joe Biden issuing a statement just moments ago that the former president has been diagnosed on Friday with what they described as an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. I want to read you this statement again from Biden's personal office. It says, last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, characterized by a Gleason score of 9 with metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The statement goes on to say that Biden and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Of course, President Biden is 82 years old, and of course, there has been so much scrutiny around the former president's health and his mental acuity and fitness for a second term in office. That is the subject, of course, of a new book from our colleague Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, as well as something that was really underscored by the release of the Her tapes earlier this week. So again, we've asked the White House for comment on this development. We will bring more details to you as soon as we have them. But again, former President Biden diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. Frederica.
All right, still so many questions. Betsy Klein, thank you so much.